We've been trying to rebuild the world and police the world. It's now time to rebuild the United States and to properly police the United States. And that's what we're going to do.
Promises made, and perhaps the beginning of promises kept. On the international front, President Trump making the surprise announcement today that he's going to pull American troops out of Syria. Now, remember, Donald Trump ran on a non-interventionist platform, and just this past March, he signaled that this is what he wanted.
By the way, we're knocking the hell out of ISIS. We'll be coming out of Syria like very soon. Let the other people take care of it now. Very soon. Very soon we're coming out.
But the bipartisan interventionist cabal in Washington are still acting like we're in a post-9/11 mindset. Well, it's worth remembering. Obama ran against the Iraq War as a repudiation of the Bush Doctrine, remember? So why are military and intel leaders who worked or supported Obama saying this?
Well, this is very typical of the Trump administration, that it's policy by tweet.
He looks for short-term wins, not the transformational approach of how do you make organizations better, how do you go for the long term.
You pull those advisors out, that sustainable security lapses, and then you have ungoverned spaces again.
What we have right now, essentially, is the president in almost a sort of a rogue operation, making impulsive, unilateral, and frequently bad judgments.
Joining me now are two men on opposite sides of this move. Jim Carafano, retired Army colonel and vice president of the Heritage Foundation, and Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, senior fellow at the Defense Priorities, who received a Bronze Star for his service in Afghanistan. All right, Jim, you think this was a strategic error for pulling out now? So my question is, what does America receive as far as a tangible benefit from remaining behind in Syria 2000?
Yeah, look, I don't know if we're on the opposite sides on this debate, because first of all, I don't know what side he's on.
Then leave the studio.
And I don't know what side.
Wait, what are we doing here?
Well, that's right. I don't know what.
Live TV. I mean,
no.
Okay,
I don't know what.
I've known Jim for a long time.
I don't know what side I'm on. You know what this is like? This is like somebody came and Roosevelt said, D-Day, what do you think, right? What's the plan? You know, how are we going to protect our interests? We don't know any of that. This might be a really smart thing. I've never been for a permanent base in Syria. I've always thought that was stupid. I thought we should do what we need to do to protect our interests. So when the president says we're coming out, what I read is everybody's response is exactly what their politics were the second before he said it. There's no analysis of what is the president actually going to do. So I think it's unfair at this point to go out and say, well, he's wrong. I mean, I think that's what Lindsey Graham said. I think is just completely irresponsible.
But you think it's imprudent, correct? I
don't know. I don't know if it's imprudent, because I don't know is what's our plan to protect our U.S. interests. How are we coming out? Because we do have concerns, right? We don't, for example, right? We probably wouldn't like Israel and Iran to have a war. Oh, that'd probably be bad. We probably wouldn't want Jordan and Iraq destabilized.
So does that mean we always have to stay?
No, absolutely it doesn't mean. I was never the guy that said the answer is a permanent U.S. footprint.
Right, but every time, and Dan, you got to help me, because every time we get into a situation in one of these places in the Middle East, we're told if we pull out, chaos will ensue.
Right.
Which means you can never pretty much leave. You have to stay because it's a situation that's it's kind of unstable. That's the nature of the game there. 17 years Afghanistan, 15 years in Iraq. 15 years. Obama was elected to get us out of Iraq, and Trump was elected in part by being the anti-Bush.
Right. And the fact of the matter is the Middle East was chaotic before we got there. The Middle East is chaotic today, and it's going to be chaotic after we leave.
It's worse. Is the Middle East worse?
I disagree.
Pre-9/11?
Trump has made the Middle East better.
Oh, Trump.
I would argue that.
I'm just
absolutely wouldn't argue that.
9/11 to, let's say, 2008. And ISIS comes. ISIS is born out of the instability in Iraq. We're still having insider attacks. I even hate calling them that, but our men are being murdered in Afghanistan. Another American soldier, Marine, reservist, murdered in Iraq for, or Afghanistan, excuse me, for what?
Yeah. But when Trump came in, when Trump came in,
our troops there do not keep us safe over here. We have many ways to keep us safe here. Otherwise, you will never be able to
never leave
ever.
Right. But when Trump came into office, ICE was still running amok in the Middle East.
Well, he did
when Trump came into office, there were over 1 million refugees that poured into Western Europe. None of that's happening today, and that's all due to Trump.
Well, that's due to smart use of our military power, not we're going to fix this here, we're going to jump over here. I mean, when we have this situation, we were just talking about the border deal. You both know a lot about the border chaos right now. people at home, I think, sit and watch this going, wait a second, we love the Christians in Syria have been brutalized during this period of U.S. interventionism there. And like, we can't even police our own border. Yeah. And we're trying to police the borders of these countries that have been at war with each other for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. It's very confusing to people.
Right. So when people say, when people reflexively attack him to say, I'm pulling out, let's just wait and see what his plan is before we.
But here's the thing you have to keep into consideration. Those troops were sent there, number one, by Obama administration against the Constitution because he did not get congressional authorization for them. He was using initially unvetted people, that many of which were against their own interest. And even if you say the best of that, it was to get rid of ISIS in Raqqa. With
mission accomplished.
Mission was accomplished in 2017.
But we got the neoconservatives who don't realize still that Trump won. Okay, and they've been good on some issues, but they were up in arms, and a lot of defense contractors probably weren't happy today either. Let's watch.
This decision by the president was against sound military advice. That he did it himself, which he has every right to do, but he needs to own it.
Grave error that's going to have significant repercussions in the years and months to come.
Honestly, this makes what Obama did in Iraq. It's replicating that, but in many ways, it's even worse. I've never seen a decision like this since I've been here in 12 years.
People hear that. Okay, you guys are just kicking the can down the road. Another CR you voted on tonight. You're like saying this is the worst thing I've ever. Not $20 trillion in debt. How much money have we spent in Iraq, Afghanistan? Do you guys know combined?
Oh well, I mean it's $45 billion just this year in Afghanistan alone. So you've got to see
$6 trillion something total.
Oh,
it's all up.
Trillions of dollars. Yeah, absolutely.
How much has China spent in Iraq and Afghanistan?
$1.50? I don't know, something like that. Not very, obviously not very much at all.
I mean, you're watching us like we're going here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, they like that. They love it when we pour money out there that does nothing for our interest. And here's the thing, we can keep ourselves safe. We don't need ground troops in Syria, because here's the thing. I can tell you from having served in Afghanistan and Iraq in similar missions like this, those small number of troops, the most things they do is actually defend themselves. They have very little ability to do anything, even on a tactical level, but certainly nothing on a strategic level. Our security will not be put in any threat by withdrawing those troops, because our security is not dependent on them right now.
We're ceding Syria to Russia and Assad, though.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah, but that's irrelevant.
They already were there. But they've been there before, and they're there afterwards.
And we agree on this. I mean, that's irrelevant. Look, the Syria has been America's enemy in the Middle East since forever. It's never bothered us. It's not about Syria. It's keeping the problems of Syria from making everything worse. And as long as the president is planning to do that, we should all be fine with it.
This is what National Review wrote today. The American military intervention in Syria represents one of the most successful, cost-effective military operations post-9/11 era at a minimal cost to American lives. The ISIS caliphate has been reduced to rubble. Russian and Iranian ambitions in Syria have been checked, and the U.S. has gained valuable territorial leverage in negotiation for a permanent peace. But there's work left to be done.
See, that's the one part I have issue with. This notion is we have to hold land, and where I completely disagree. We have to own land on the ground so we can help negotiate the political future of Syria. We don't give a damn about the political future of Syria. That is a misreading of U.S. national interest. We have to prevent Syria from becoming a bigger problem for us. And as if the president's got a plan to do that, we should support that. And we should start with where we are, which is look at what he's done the last 2 years. He's made the Middle East a better place. He's made Syria less of a problem.
He gets no credit for that.
And gets no credit for that. That's fair.
Zero credit for that. But Adam Kinzinger is really unhappy, so we should change it. I'm sorry, but the interventionist thing brought us, in part, Barack Obama. I'm never going to forget that. All right, guys, thank you so much. No one else will have this conversation on TV tonight. No one.